Well, thank you, Richard. You are a kind man and a good friend, and very, very much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, moms and dads, grandparents, family and friends, and most importantly, the Montford class of 2021, welcome. And thank you very much for having me here on this most special day of yours. It is truly an honor to be here. Before I begin, I'd like to, as I do in these things, give special thanks to Richard Greco, the president and founder of Montford. He has been a tireless supporter and cheerleader, and we are all appreciative of that effort and the sacrifices he and his family make every day for Montford. One more thing, a deep and sincere thank you to all the parents. They're way underappreciated by many, but they are the ones who've made this possible for their children, and your sacrifices, encouragement, and example, all you parents, is priceless. To the Montford class of 2021, I have three relatively simple messages that I'd like to share with you as you look forward to college and all the things that lie ahead for you. They're not that complicated. Number one, show up. Number two, be engaged. And number three, trust God. Two simple words, show up. I expect you've heard something like this as it applies to lots of things in life. I will say that no one ever talked to us about these things when I was growing up. But of course, no one really talked to us about much of anything in those days. I grew up in a very small town that wasn't even a suburb of anything, in the middle of Michigan. The vast majority of the town worked in the auto factories and had very decent lives. But of course, all that changed when the auto companies in the late 1970s were suddenly not growing anymore, and we went into a recession, and the whole world seemed to be a mess. Everything was uncertain. That may sound familiar to you this year. In the middle of it all, my parents divorced, and I was the oldest of 6 kids at 11 years old. I was on the wrong side of the tracks. We were on food stamps, and I was an outsider. So what do? Well, I learned then that you just keep showing up. Despite the challenges, you keep getting up in the morning. You help take care of your brothers and sisters. You cared for your heartbroken mom. You went to school and kept playing sports. You got a paper route and got up every morning to make those deliveries. You didn't complain. There wasn't anyone who really to complain to, and you kept showing up. It had nothing to do with what was fair or what others did or didn't do. How does that apply to you today? It's actually pretty much the same stuff, and the same thing that Jesus talks to. You keep getting up in the morning with the thought of doing something good. You care for people that need caring for. Sometimes it's your siblings, sometimes it's your friends, sometimes it's someone you don't even know, and sometimes it's even your mom or your dad. You stay the course with school. You stay the course with your other interests. You show up every day not really knowing what might happen that day, but it could be special. I'll share a short, crazy story along those lines. When I was young, I was a freshman in college. I went away to college. I went to the University of Detroit, a little Jewish school tucked into one of the tougher neighborhoods of Detroit, and I studied accounting. One day I showed up, believe it or not, my mother worked at a dentist's office, and I was just there to say hello and see if she needed a ride home. She hadn't expected me. I had no real good reason to come there, but I'd come home from college a little early, and I was waiting for her. I started a conversation with a gentleman who was doing the accounting for the office, who was in from Detroit area. Turns out he needed some accounting help, and I was looking for a job. The long story short was that job led me to my next job at Price Waterhouse, a big multinational firm that, of course, I'd never heard of before, and then pretty much led to everything else the rest of my life. Again, a small example of just showing up. More importantly, you need to show up in order to help others, to learn, and to be available to opportunities that you don't even know about yet. And by the by, show up for Mass as often as you can. Again, you never know when you might have that special moment or even a revelation if you don't show up. Second message, and this is an important one as well, be engaged. Engage, as defined by an old guy like me, means pay attention and own things. It means that when you do something, anything, it's not just a stepping stone or just a job or just something to do. And it's truly up to you to engage. Care about things. Be curious. Think about what you would do differently to make things better. Make mistakes and learn from them, whether it's how to encourage learning, how to run a business, how to manage a team of people with a common goal. You have lots to give. Give it. Try it on when you're working on that college project, when you're at a job, or when you're helping your parents around the house. And give and engage, not for a reward. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Give your heart to things. Fight indifference. And if you look to learn from anything and everything you do, you are owning the outcome of all your decisions and owning your life. Last message, love and trust God. The simplest message of all, but sometimes hardest to remember and to live. It is one that I try to remember to go back to often. It kind of covers everything. If you love and trust God and try to move that thought to the front of your mind when things are looking a bit crazy or hard to understand or not fair or even overwhelming, there is comfort. Often, if you give it a little time to sink in, that love of God will make other things seem a lot less important and less scary. With the love of God, all the relationships, some good and some not so good, can make a little more sense, as all those folks are created by God and are part of the mosaic of life that God has prepared for you. And believe to the tips of your toes, and I mean this one, this is a big one, right? That God loves you even more, that you are in His heart every minute of every day. Be humble, be kind. You will endure incredible loneliness, particularly these next several years. Most adults, if they're honest, will tell you how hard it was in their 20s. Try hard to remember it's simple to love and trust God. He may not be as obvious as you would like, but He's right there all the time, ready to listen. So again, remember every day that showing up really matters, that being engaged means giving yourself to the things you do, and that loving God, first and foremost, makes figuring things out a lot simpler. Before I conclude, let me say that you are a very special group. Many of you are first or second generation Americans. All of you have experienced your own set of challenges, mistakes, triumphs, and moments of utter confusion. Life is great. You're all heroes. Congratulations to each and every one of you. I want to thank you all again for having me here today. And as a slight digression, I'd like to say thank you very much to our daughter, Miss Schenk, to you for being a wonderful presence in my life. She's so dearly loved. That is enough for me today. This day is all about you. I hope even a little bit of what I said makes sense and that you might remember as you charge ahead. We are all blessed to have one another and to have a God who cares for us the way He does. Best of luck to all of you, and may God continue to bless us all and our families.